And here's the quick, I mean, shout out, Democrats running, cities or states. Shout out to, Governor Newsom. But California, a couple years ago, maybe a handful of years ago, they passed a law where ensured like at 2030 there can't be any new vehicles that are electric. I mean, gas. They all have to be electric.
Right.
Well, a lot of people got ahead of that. Not a lot, people went ahead of that, and they just started getting electric vehicles, to prepare for it. Well, guess what? California is running into an issue with, and I'm gonna go over this on a money mindset. They're running into an issue now where the tax that they got for people buying gas, they no longer have those tax dollars, and they're trying to figure out a way to get that tax money back. Now, who the hell? I was talking to one of my clients yesterday about this. I said, if one thing the government's supposed to do is figure out how to get the tax dollars, like if we're gonna make a decision as any type of government entity, state,
Right.
federal, local, whatever it is, okay, what do we do? How is it going to impact our taxes? Because and now they're getting mad because I think they use that tax to like fix the roads and stuff. And I'm thinking, who sat down and didn't be like, yo, we're not going to have none of this money at all. If everybody has an electric vehicle, then the tax will go to zero.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
yep.
for lawnmowers, whatever people using them. But I mean, diesel trucks, I guess, was still. But I mean, it's essentially going to go to zero if the entire state.
Yeah, I mean they got electric lawnmowers too. Shout out to Ryobi because I've definitely been using that for the past 2 years. So
there you go. See, I'm in an apartment still, so I ain't cutting no grass. So I'm not up to date. I'm not surprised. I'm not up to date.
I mean, they don't last as long, but the glass get cut. That's all I need.
That's all you need. Yeah, so HOA don't yell at you. But it's one of those things. In California, having more larger population than Canada, which is a whole country, a larger population than a lot of countries out there, and like the 5th highest GDP out of every place on the entire earth. Like I think it's China outside the United States, China, Germany, and Japan, I believe, or India. I can't remember, but it's only a handful of countries that even have a higher gross GDP. G and GDP stands for gross. Anyways, a higher GDP than California. So like that's the type of stuff where you're looking at either Democrats on a state level, local level. You can look at New York, how they're dealing with the immigrant situation, Chicago. There are a lot of issues that have been going on, which again you could attribute to what President Trump had in office, right? Because obviously the presidency bleeds over as far as what people instill. I think one big thing we have to look at for both presidencies is the pandemic. Not as much for President Trump's because he didn't win the election and the pandemic started in 2020, which is really his last year. But I mean, for 2020 into 2021, 2022, the pandemic really didn't end until truly this year, as far as the policies and stuff that were in place, and then those longer taken into effect. So if your whole presidency was essentially a global pandemic, there has to be some understanding there up to a point, though. Yeah. And now I think we're at that breaking point.
Well, I was going to bring in
Go ahead, bring it in.
My grievances is
your student loans.
They be lying, bro. People be lying. You already know where I'm going with it. They be lying, bro. And I know politicians lie all the time. Like, I mean, it kind of comes with the territory. It's almost like you take their promises with a grain of salt at this point, right? But you gotta come through to a certain extent, right? And I know they'll be like, oh, he forgave a certain amount of loans loans for those random technical institutions that don't nobody go to, or a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the people go to, and that gets forgiven. It's not gonna help you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like hold on, make sure I say this right. Our generation, we are the millennials, right? We don't forget. Yes. Okay, you put. Because now, I mean, I'm getting old now, right? Because the generation, there's what two voting generations now after us. Is that right?
No, one. Gen Z is still coming into. People were voting this year were born. Jesus, people were voting this year born in 2006.
That's what I'm saying. That's what, like, so we getting there. We're getting there. So it's 1.5 voting generations after us, right?
As I always say, people are lucky I'm not in charge. So the thing, if y'all think Project 2025. I think post 9/11, people born after 9/11, we got to consider if you can even vote or not. Because whatever, go ahead, finish. I'll go after you.
No, I was just saying, but like so saying all this, we don't forget. If you pull up and tell me, you know what I mean, that you're gonna forgive my student loans. We all know how that goes. All right, we've all lived the same life here in America, and that didn't come to pass. I'm gonna feel some type of way. All right, and I know. So as of this moment, right? So Biden is no longer running. Kamala is now, the nomination for that party. But I mean, she was a part of that whole process, right? Like, you were there, nothing happened. I'm a little salty. I ain't gonna hold you. It hurts me in my wallet. You know what I mean? I had to come up with that money because I mean, I took your word as bond. Like, and mind you, we are.
You took my word. My word is bond.
the good thing is we are financially disciplined over here. All right. So we made it happen. It wasn't, like a major setback, but at the same time, it's not like I went out and blew the money I invested it. Right. So
Yeah.
it's there. Right. But it's just the principle of you told me I had this money come my way and it never happened. So it's like, now I got this little nasty taste in the back of my mouth. So it's like, I can't really believe the things that you're saying. All right. And I feel like I ain't gonna hold you for the past several elections, not even like just I mean we've only been voting for the past three technically, right? But yeah, I mean, so aside from that first one, right, at least the past two for sure, it's been like I feel like I'm voting between a rock and a hard place. Like I ain't gonna hold you. I'm getting a little bias in here right now, but I don't necessarily care for either candidacy. Like it's like this person that I don't necessarily care for, this person that's a liar. So it's like you know what I mean. So now I gotta weigh, I guess, their take on the issues and what they plan to implement, but it's also like, I mean, are you actually going to implement it?
Yeah.
History doesn't fare on your side, right? So I'll leave it at that.
Now, I was gonna say one, for those who don't know, Jordan I can run for office next election because we'll be 35. Okay, we turn 35 in 4 years. Right?
Y'all see us on the platform. We on there. All right, look at
that. I told people, I said one of the main, I mean, to get through this article, right? How are we doing? But one of the main issues is what appeared last election with Trump versus Hillary, is that neither party had a candidate. I don't know what some people are saying that the governor of our state, Wes Moore, could was a possible option. I'm like, he just became governor.
Yes,
he's only been governor. He hasn't been governor for 2 years yet. I think we're going on. He's going on 2 years. I mean, like, what are we talking about? Like the pipeline. Like we talk about Obama and how long they knew. I mean, he's a senator, but like, we hear about the pipeline and things like that. Talking about even Senator, Mitt Romney was a senator. Senator McCain. Like, I mean, these people had been in the federal government for a long time. And if you're going to be at the state level as a governor, Maryland we get lucky because we're next to DC, and so the politics are connected. But Maryland, in general, as a state, is not one of the states where you look at the governor in and of itself as like, the governor can be president. That's California, Texas, and New York and Florida. That's it. Those are the only 4 states where if you're gonna tell me the governor is going to run for president, I'd be like, okay, because those states are literally countries in and of themselves. And look at them. Maryland, look, this is Maryland. Look, y'all know how I feel about the state of Maryland, but the governor of Maryland, you have to be governor for a long time, like our last governor was Larry Hogan, but not a governor who hasn't been there 2 years yet. And what are we? It's not like he was 2 years and he came from Congress or something like that. Right? I mean, this is insane. So I think neither party, right? And you can see obviously with Trump running again, neither party has a viable option for the future. And as you're saying, how you don't like either option, either with Biden or even now with Harris, I'm of the belief where we need to change the voting. The age that you can be to run for president, there needs to be a cap. I know you can only serve 2 terms, but if it was me, neither at the time Biden nor Trump could run because they would have been too old. I think the cutoff is 68. If if you're going to be older than 68 on the day of inauguration, you can't run. Like there's something right. There's so many issues, right, that we have to tackle. But I think one of the main issues is that the pipeline we have for presidency. I think we should take it to 18 as well. If you want to vote for an 18-year-old for president, fine. You know what I mean? Like if you like if that's your choice, fine. But you can be in the House, I believe, at 25, House Representatives. You can be a senator at 30. So I believe, and Biden, I believe, was a senator at 30. He got elected when he was 29, but when he was in the seat, he was 30 years old. And I'm like, 25 or 30 or 8. I just think that it should be 18 for everything because that's the age you can join the military. I just think that should be the age. You can't go and die for the country, then come back and be 100%, TDIU with your legs blown off, getting special monthly compensation, and you're 19 years old, and I tell you can't legally drink. That doesn't make sense. And if we want to make it so military people can drink with their ID, I'm fine with that too. But regardless, I think there are a lot of things that don't seem like a big issue, but are things that would be huge wins for us going forward. Putting an age restriction on really all the seats, making the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court, where you can't serve indefinitely, even though Supreme Court is indefinite. But for Congress, you can just get infinitely reelected until you pass away. You can literally die serving. So I think those are the type of things where we do have all these issues: immigration, the economy, all these different type of things, war, all these things. But those are things where if we get past, you'll be able to see a change in the pipeline. Now you need the people who are sitting in the seats to pass those, right? You want me to pass a law that's going to make me lose my job?
Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah, that's what it's confusing. But to your point, and to get back to the article, when you're saying how, are you going to be able to get these policies enacted? The president if you know anything about how the government is set up, the president is arguably / the executive branch is arguably the least effective and the least important out of all the branches. It's the most important figure, right? And that is commander in chief. And you have the vice president, and those are only two people you vote for. You actually don't vote for the vice president, right? The vice president just gets picked, right? Whoever they pick. So you don't actually get to pick the vice president. You pick the president, and then by voting for the president, you hope that they pick the cabinet you want, but you don't pick the cabinet, which makes up, the treasury, secretary of treasury, all the different type of stuff. But Congress, the legislative branch, and then Supreme Court / judicial branch, they got way more power. The checks and balances little circle that they showed us, where it was like a recycle thing, where they, everybody's checking each other. That's not a thing, right? It's the legislative branch. That's where the laws start, and then the president either vetoes it or he puts it in, into law, and then the Supreme Court goes and says whether or not that law is a good thing. It's going to actually be a law based on the Constitution. But the Supreme Court has to get stuff kicked up to them, right? They don't just rule on things like out of nowhere. They got to get all this, at the local level. Like you have an issue right now. Jordan has some issue in Harford County, right? And then he goes to his county court, right? Then he appeals it there, and it goes up to whatever the court is above that. Then it goes to the district court, which is over multiple states. Then it goes to the Supreme Court. Like they don't just sit here and rule on laws. So even then, it's like you're telling me the legislative branch and the judicial branch are the two branches where people can serve indefinitely. Well, those would be the two important branches. I mean, if you're president for 8 years, I mean, how much stuff can you really get done?
Yeah.
Especially when you're coming in, like Obama did after someone who served 8 years and on the other side. So you got to undo their policies in theory. It's just the simple logic of it.